Nice to see you, everybody. Back on the practice field. It's great to be back out there. We're certainly excited about the season and just this time of year. I probably enjoy this time of the season as much as I do any. It's all football. There's no distractions. We've got our entire team here. We live in the building, eat in the building, meet in the building, everything. Lift, run, practice. It's just awesome to have our team here and to be able to build a camaraderie among the guys, and for the rookies to be here and be in this environment and learn from the older guys, and just the team building that happens. And really, I think what we find out over the next few weeks about our team, their personality, and just who we're going to be playing with. I think there's a lot of positions where there's some guys that are very well established, and others where there's some good, healthy competition going on. It's fun to see guys in both of those positions. So after day one, I can't tell you much. We're running around out there in shorts, trying not to make contact with anybody. Unfortunately, we inevitably run into each other, and hopefully we're going to stay healthy here before we start to get into shells and pads and really find out a little bit more about the speed of our guys and how fast they play and how physical they are. So I'm looking forward to the next week and a half. We'll really start to get some pieces put in place.
Want to kick us off, Ken?
Sure. Ken Kraetzer, CaMMVetsMedia. Coach, good to see you start another season. Maybe, Coach, if you want to just outline a little bit about what your summer was, both getting some time away, but also what you focus on in preparing for the season.
So here, we've kind of got a summer that's set for these guys and a routine that we've gotten into over the last several years. They finished their final exams for the spring, or the T's as they call them here, the term end exams. And they either immediately or in the next few days go out and do summer military training. So our guys get a little bit of a few days off, maybe a long weekend. Sometimes they get a week or so of a little bit of a break, which is nice. And then they have their summer military training, and then following their summer military training, some come straight out of the field back to campus, and some have a couple of days after they finish their summer training before they report back to campus. But when we do in June, then we get into our summer football workouts. And so we started those in very early June. The first Monday in June, everybody reported back. And our players have been here pretty much the whole summer, with the exception of a little break around the 4th of July, which is right between the two summer school sessions that they take. But our team's here, everybody's here, takes a summer school class in each of the sessions, works out all summer. Our coaches are here pretty solid throughout the summer, particularly in June when there's still a quiet period in recruiting, where we can get prospects to come visit us on campus. We had a lot of prospects come in the month of June. We had an official visit where we invited prospects and their families in June. And then in July becomes a dead period in recruiting. So that piece is, other than making contact through phone calls and text messages and direct messages and those kinds of things with prospects, we can't have any prospects on campus. So that slows down, but it ramps up a little bit in the month of July in terms of what we do with our players. That the NCAA a few years ago allowed coaches to take part in film sessions, chalk talks with their players, and skill instruction, which is not practiced by any means, but teaching fundamentals and one-on-one work with our players, which we ramped that up a little bit in the month of July, preparing those guys for preseason camp. But we give our coaches a little time off so they can spend some time with their family, or their families. I spent some time with mine getting away around the 4th of July. We didn't have any players on campus, so it was a window for us to get away, and that's nice for everybody to recharge their batteries. But certainly we were all very excited about getting back to campus and coming back to preseason camp. Yesterday, all the veterans reported, and the freshmen or the rookies, the plebes, had come out of cadet basic training on Sunday night. So we got our whole team here. It's just fun to be back.
Okay. Just coming, what you accomplished in spring practice this year, what can you take away and utilize as you start your fall camp? And what are some of the positions that you're focusing attention on?
So I think that spring ball is really a great opportunity for us to develop some guys that maybe haven't played a whole lot. They get far more repetitions playing their position in our defense or in our offensive schemes in the spring, and I think they really take some strides from perhaps maybe the freshmen or the rookies as much as anybody. They go through that first fall, a lot of them are on the scout team, and they get some work in preseason camp, but after that they're running our opponent's offense or defense the rest of the season. And in the spring, they get to really just play within our scheme, which is great. And I think there's some big improvements that happen there for those young guys. And then over the course of the summer, the things that we can do with those guys in terms of skill instruction and just the teaching of our schemes, and there's some growth that happens there. But when they hit preseason camp like they do right now, coming out of their freshman year, or even coming out of their sophomore year, often we see some real improvement. And it's fun to see those guys who have grown, gained a lot of weight, gained a lot of strength, and they're different players now than they were even in the spring and certainly in the fall. So there's some competition at some key positions, and some of that competition are guys that are developing and have come up through the ranks, and now it's their opportunity to do it. Other guys are veteran guys that are been here and waited it out over guys that were established starters, and now they're in a position to try to earn a starting position themselves. So I don't know if there's any more key position on our team than quarterback. That's a huge part of every team and every program, and certainly is for us. So everybody's got a pretty watchful eye on that to see how that's going to play out. I think we've got a number of good players there that we feel very comfortable if any one of those guys was our starting quarterback. And I don't know who the starter will be in the opening game. And I'm not going to anoint anybody and name anybody a starter right now. That's for the competition to play out through the preseason camp. Certainly the most experienced guy is Dwayne Coleman, and if we had to play this afternoon, he'd be the starting quarterback. But we don't play for 5 weeks, so we're going to see how it plays out and watch Ethan and Cale and Dwayne and the rest of the guys that are there battle it out.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
Coach, good to see you again.
Tucson.
Talk about the two captains you have. Both of them are inside linebackers, defensive guys. I'm sure you have a lot of faith in them, but tell me about why you picked these guys.
I didn't pick them. Their teammates picked them. And I think you'll find talking to those guys, they're very professional. They're really good leaders. They're good communicators, and they're both fiercely competitive. And so those are good guys to have out in front of the team. It was clear when our team voted that those are the two guys that they felt the strongest about. And it's not the first time that we've had all defensive captains. We had a year where we had 4 defensive captains, and I remember back in, I guess it was 2016, we had Jeremy Timpf and Andrew King, who were the 2 inside linebackers, and they were our 2 captains that year. So I think a lot of times those inside linebackers are natural leaders. They're a little bit like quarterbacks in that they have a lot of responsibility, and often when you look at high school teams, sometimes the best defensive player is the inside or middle linebacker for the team, and often they get thrust into a leadership position. So I think it's probably only natural that those guys feel comfortable in that role, and that our players kind of recognize those leadership qualities in them.
And playing off that, in the past you've talked about how close your teams have been, especially last year, the players themselves. Do you feel that this year again? Do you think this is another team that's they're close to it through?
I do. I think that the experience here at West Point and the challenges that they go through here as cadets, that shared experience really creates a bond among our players that is unique, and it is truly a brotherhood. They lean on each other, rely on each other. They feel a great sense of loyalty and personal connection to each other. So, you know, I don't know that at this point last year, I recognized just how close last year's team was or would be. I think that develops over time, it develops over the course of the season. And so I don't know that I can really truly gauge just where this group is in terms of their loyalty to each other and the relationships they have. But I think that'll reveal itself over the course of preseason camp here and as we are in the early weeks of the season. And but I do see just the sense of brotherhood that we know is so important here in our program and I think in every program. But we do see that with our guys, the way they interact with each other.
Thank you, Coach.
Joe Iacano.
Hey, Coach Monken, welcome back to camp. First question is around the quarterback battle. As you mentioned, if you guys had to play tonight, it would be Dwayne Coleman, but you don't play for 5 weeks, so there's definitely 3 guys in the mix. What criteria are you and Coach Worley looking for one of the guys to potentially separate from the pack a little bit between now and opening night?
I think that's the guy that moves our team up and down the field and makes his teammates most productive. That to me is the most important piece for a quarterback. Certainly want somebody that's talented and can run and throw and distribute the ball and do all those things, but they're just our guys that naturally do a good job of leading their unit and lead them up and down the field. And the guy that does that the best, he's the guy that needs to be our quarterback.
And follow-up and final question, 2 specialist positions that I kind of wanted to ask about going into camp, if you have any ideas around who potentially could be in the mix at the punter and place kicker positions. And I know the last couple of years you guys have used a different kickoff specialist versus a field goal kicker. So what do those positions look like going in?
At the top right now, and again, this will be evaluated as we go through camp. Dawson Jones is our place kicker, and James Wagenseller is our punter. And pardon me, James was a punter all last year, did a really good job, and so he's holding that position right now. I think he'll get some real competition from Cooper Allen, who was our punter 2 years ago, and then Anderson Britton is the guy out there that we're going to have to get some answers on. He in the Temple game tore his ACL on his kicking leg, which imagine being a kicker, you tear the ACL on your kicking leg. That is certainly going to affect your ability to do your job. But he's recovered really well. He's been kicking field goals and PATs and doing a really good job. He was our kickoff specialist a year ago, and Granati was handling the PATs and field goals, and so perhaps Anderson can battle again to be the kickoff specialist, or maybe even be the place kicker, and Dawson or Wagenseller are the kickoff guys. So we'll just see how that goes and see how he recovers. But right now, those 2 guys I mentioned are at the top of the list.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.
Ken McMillan. We'll go to Tom Shanahan.
Hey, Coach, good to see you again.
You too, Tom.
Hey, I wanted to put together a story about John Feinstein. His book came out 30 years ago. This will be the first season he's not around for the Army-Navy. Well, for the whole season, as well as the Army-Navy game. And I just want to get some thoughts from you on what you're going to miss about him and what he meant to reviving national interest in the rivalry, which I think he did.
What a super guy. I think everybody that read his stories and followed his career really appreciates how much he respected and loved the game of football. And he had a compelling way of writing the obvious and making it far more interesting. And we all were very appreciative of what he did to bring the attention to academy football. And I guess probably my first few years here, he would do a weekly write-up about the Army games, and if you just are a fan, it's just an enjoyable read. And I think he appreciated players, competitors, coaches, what went into it, and certainly his book about the Army-Navy rivalry back in the late '90s when he wrote that, the mid to late '90s. He was encamped with the two staffs pretty much throughout the season, and that investment, that dedication, that's uncommon. And so I think you are correct in that he did raise the national interest in the game. This rivalry, the Army-Navy rivalry, that football game, was once the most watched college football game in the country every year. And I think the second most watched football game next to the Super Bowl. There were crowds of 100,000 that would pack the stadium, and it was a big deal, and it still is. I mean, I think there was 9-point-something million people watched the game on TV last year. That's a pretty good interest. But I think he really appreciated academy football and what our young men and what the young men and women in academies commit to, and what they do on a daily basis, and the investment they make, and what they'll go on to do after graduation. So we're certainly going to miss him. Our Army Football Club, which is our Army football alumni, made him an honorary member of the Army Football Club a few years back, and I know that he was very appreciative of that, and so I enjoyed getting to know him. I didn't get to know him as closely as an assistant coach in this rivalry as I did as a head coach, and I certainly appreciate John and all he did for the game and for academy football.
Great, thank you, Coach.
You bet.
Ken McMillan, if you're there, go ahead. Or Sal, go ahead, Sal.
Hey, Coach. Good to see you. Hope all is well.
It is. Thank you, Sal.
Wanted to ask you about if you're anxious about anyone who maybe did not get as much to run last season or might have been held out of spring. Anxious to see them on the practice field this preseason.
Well, let's see. I'm trying to think of all the guys that were out and where they might be. I think guys that come to mind. There's a young offensive lineman, Josh Manicky. I'm really excited to see him get out there and practice full speed. He's still we're still holding him back a little bit to get him back in condition, but he's such a big body kid and long kid. I'm excited to watch him. Remind me, Sal, of who sat out last spring that you didn't get a chance to see and wanted to ask me about.
Yeah, I'm trying. Anderson Britton's a guy that they got banged up, and you're saying that he's on the road to recovery, so to speak, and getting back into the swing of things.
He is. He's doing all the kicking jobs right now. Obviously, he was hurt early in the year, so got his surgery during the season last year. So he's had plenty of time to recover, and I'm glad to see him back out there. So we'll like I said, we'll see about the kickoffs, but he looks good doing the PATs and field goals. I don't know, Eric. You remember anybody? I mean, it's
Newsome, Nixon.
Noah Nixon, Baylor Newsome.
Yeah.
Those two guys are back. They were both out with injuries a year ago, and those are two guys that I think will have a chance to certainly help us on special teams, but they're gonna be either the backup or the two of those guys probably in the top 5 at inside linebacker. And the neat thing about those guys is you watch them. out there on the practice field. They're long, they're big body guys, and I think there's some position flexibility to maybe play outside linebacker or play a different position in the defense if they're not the starting inside linebacker. And if either of those guys or both of them are two of our best football players, we want to find a way to get them on the field. So it'll be fun to see those guys kind of get back in the mix and see how they look.
Non-camp question. Had Kyle Lewis on the podcast yesterday talking about how he's going to compete in an Ironman competition. I know there was a social media post of you saying, hey, a former nose guard of mine going to compete in an Ironman competition. Can't believe I'm posting it. Can you talk about a little bit about Kyle and his drive just to do something for, a good cause?
Not only is he running 2 Ironmans in a matter of 2 months, he just played nose guard this past year. Sometimes those guys are nose guards and they get in shape and they start doing these other workouts, and 5 or 6 years after they're playing, they're running these Ironmans or biking or running marathons. This guy just played last fall, and so he's still, when you see him, I mean, he's still put together pretty good. It's not like he's trimmed down and a thin guy. He's well over 200 pounds, and as I told him, when he lines up to compete in that Ironman, there's going to be a lot of thin, runner type people that this is all they do is train for these things, and he realizes that. But I think it's just the excitement of having a chance to compete, and that's what happens when people are competitive. They want to continue to be in competitive environments. I think it's one of the great things about the Army is that they leave our football program, they leave West Point, which is competitive, and they go in the Army, and they've got to take a team or a unit, and they've got to prepare them for competition. And so I'm excited for him. Yeah, he is representing a great cause, and so we'll see. I'm excited. I mean, it's going to be this fall, so it's not too far away. He's going to go to Chattanooga first, and then do one in Arizona a couple months later, and I just hope he stays healthy and he's able to finish.
Appreciate it, Coach.
In the wrap up, Ken McMillan, if you're there, go ahead.
Hey Jeff, welcome back. Jeff, I know the focus is on this year, but can you give us your take on what kind of vibe this team has coming into camp, and is it similar to any of your previous seasons here?
I think Seth kind of was alluding to the same thing, asking just about the personality, the temperament, the closeness to the team. It's hard to tell right now. They've had an entire off season to work together, so you see those veteran players and new personalities, new leaders emerge. But when you throw 70 new freshmen into the mix, it's a different group, and they're a part of it as well, and an important part of it. So we'll see. I do like our football team. I think there's good leaders on this team. There's some talented guys on this team, but like every year, it will take our team being tough and playing together and being very assignment sound, fundamentally sound, and playing the game really, really hard to just give ourselves a chance to win, because we're going to play teams that are far more talented, and that's no knock on our guys. And I tell them the same thing. We can't roll the balls out and just say, hey, we're the better team, we're a more talented team, we're going to win regardless of what happens. We got to execute really well, and so that's what we strive to do. And we're not void of talent. We got talented guys, but we've got to have a team that plays together and plays really hard and believes in each other, and so they're human beings, and they've got to choose to do that, and then they've got to practice it every day. And so we certainly try to motivate and inspire them to do that, compel them to do that, but ultimately it's going to be the leaders from within the team and the guys on the team that are going to make up the personality of who we really are.
And Jeff, last year you guys used a lot of players on the 1 and 2 deep here. There's got to be a certain level of comfort coming in knowing that you do have a lot of playing experience on the 2 deep. So perhaps these roles fitting into the new starting roles won't be so difficult.
Well, I hope you're right. I hope it won't be difficult. I hope it's not difficult because we got a bunch of really good players that we feel very comfortable putting in the starting role. Hopefully we don't find out we've got guys that we don't think are going to be as productive, or if there's not competition. It's great to have a really good starter. What's even better is to have a really good backup, because most of the time you don't go through the entire season with the same 22 starters, and eventually somebody's going to have to step up and answer the bell. So hopefully, as you said, we've got some depth. We do have some guys that have played. They're not all returning starters, but we got a lot of guys that have some good experience, and I'm sure they are excited to be the starter and to try to earn the starting position and to contribute to the team in a bigger role. So we'll see. We'll see what it looks like at the end of camp and what the depth looks like.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay.